This is Scott Becker with the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. And today's discussion is beware when the founder returns to leadership. So one of the things you see in American business, and it's often lauded with a lot of fanfare, is when the founder comes back to again run the business. And sometimes this works out well. The inspiration for today's story is Under Armour, where the CEO, I think they've changed CEOs 4 times in 3 years today, and Kevin Blank's coming back to run the firm again. Now, you've had some well-publicized situations where the founder returns. Steve Jobs is probably the most famous founder return and return to great glory and great success. But you got to remember that when that happens, that's few and far between. Howard Schultz painted himself again as the savior of Starbucks. That went okay at best, I would say. In most situations, it goes something like this. I remember years ago, oh my goodness, at one of the companies I'm involved in having, a minor discussion about something and me being upset about something as a former founder and somebody saying to me, well, do you want to come back and run the company? And the person, of course, who said it was the magnificent CEO that we have. And I was like, oh my God, I could never do that nearly as well as you do. And this was beyond true. That's not fake humility. That's true. The current CEO, Jessica Cole, does a magnificent job, always does a crazily great job, and I could never do it nearly as well as I do. In fact, you've done a great job as a founder, and I always talk about there's 3 stages of a founder, from a period of time in a business when you do everything, to a period of time when you do everything, when you don't do everything, but you've hired people to do everything, but they don't all necessarily do it better than you. And then the 3rd stage as a founder is when you've hired everybody to do all the jobs you used to do, and they all do it far better than you do. And to the credit of Becker's Healthcare and Jessica Cole, that's where we got to, where all the people that do the roles that I did at one time all do them better than me. And when the founder comes back, I usually view it as a last-ditch effort, either due to ego in the case of Under Armour, or, once in a great while, the founder really has a vision and shouldn't have ever left the building to begin with, like Steve Jobs. But most of the time, it's a disaster. Now, Bob Iger's not the founder of Disney. He's coming back for a second stint at Disney. But again, he never really left. He stayed on the board, but not just on the board. It's the biggest thorn in the side of the current CEO's situation, and never a good spot to be in. But he's not a founder. He's returned and done fine with Disney since the return. I don't know how that's going to play out over the long run. But when a founder returns, like the guy at Under Armour just did today, I think it's more like ego is getting in the way, other problems are getting in the way. He's probably not done the job he should have done in building the next level of leadership. My experience is almost always, oh my goodness, I did a couple stints in one job as the chairperson of the McGuire-Woods Healthcare Department, came back to do it for another 7 years after doing it for 7 years. I think I performed absolutely fine that second time. At this point, if somebody asked me to come back and do it, it would be very clear to me that Amber Walsh, Holly Buckley, and others do a far, far better job than I could ever do at this point in terms of my own passion, drive, energy, and how much they bring to the table. And the same thing is true at Becker's Healthcare. Jessica Cole runs the place. I could never do it as well as she does it. Never, never, never. I think Kevin Blank probably needs to take a look in the mirror and decide whether he really should be coming back into the founder seat, or if his real failure has been building a great team around him. Again, the title of today's podcast is Beware When the Founder Returns, usually a bad sign. Thank you for listening to the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. We hope you enjoy this episode.